Well, after 18 months, Rahu and Ketu are going to be changing signs again. So Rahu is going to be changing into the sign of Pisces, and Ketu is going to be changing into the sign of Virgo. This represents a very important change of karma for everybody. So it's going to be affecting us on a collective level, and it's going to be affecting us on an individual level. Today in this video, we're going to be talking about how it's going to impact each sign. So when you're looking at these predictions, make sure you check for your ascendant sign and your moon sign to get an idea of what kind of areas of life are going to be highlighted with Rahu and Ketu. Now, it's important to realize that this is not happening in a vacuum. So we see that there's a lot of things happening in the world right now. There's especially a conflict happening in the Middle East. So when we have something like a big change, like Rahu and Ketu changing signs, we know that these events are, they're not going to be small events. This is likely going to be a large event, okay, because of the nodes changing. Because Rahu and Ketu, they represent these karmic points of destiny in our charts, in a collective chart and on an individual level. So we're going to be talking about all 12 signs, but I just wanted you to know that on a world level, this is impacting things as well. So if you're new to my channel, make sure that you like and subscribe. I do Vedic sidereal astrology. So that's why I call it Rahu and Ketu. In Western astrology, they call it the North Node and South Node. And also goals 10,000 subscribers. If you're interested in a private reading, check down below. I do have a discount for the rest of October and November. We're continuing that discount. Use code name Thor at checkout for 40% off. Make sure you get those readings. And also, by the way, quick disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. It's not meant to replace professional advice. It's just another point of reference using astrological energies. So let's talk a little bit about the dates of this transit. October 30th, 2023, and then all the way through May 18th, 2025. It's about 18 months per sign. And it takes about 18 and a half years to go through all 12 signs of the zodiac. So sometimes if you want to get an idea of how this may impact you, you may want to go back into the last time that Rahu was in Pisces and Ketu was in Virgo to get an idea of what kind of things were unfolding in your life. Sometimes there's similar patterns that occur with these kind of transits. Now, it's also important to look at where Ketu enters as well. So Rahu is going to be kind of the new experiences that are coming in your life, and Ketu will be those areas of typically apathy or where it's losing cohesion in that area wherever Ketu is at. So that's something to keep in mind. It's a karmic axis. Remember, Rahu and Ketu are always 7 signs from each other. So, for example, if Rahu's in the 10th house, Ketu will be in the 4th house. So you want to look at the whole axis. You want to know that the impacts of this transit are going to be both the 10th house of career and the 4th house of, house and domestic concerns and so forth. Now, if you're in a Vimshatari Dasha period of Rahu or Ketu, these transits are like doubly powerful. They're really powerful, okay? But even if you're in another planetary period, like if you're in a Jupiter, Venus, or Mars, or whatever period you're in, Rahu and Ketu, I always suggest looking at them anyways. So it's the most important transit besides the Saturn transit. So that's something to be aware of. Rahu and Ketu, especially, they represent new experiences coming in your mind, and they serve as a karmic trigger. And remember, the eclipses are following where Rahu and Ketu are going. Rahu, just so you all are aware, Rahu breaks through barriers. So if there's some sort of limiting aspect about the house it's going through, Rahu is going to find a way to break through that membrane or break through that blockage that might have been holding you back in the past. So that's the good thing about Rahu, but Rahu also is a risk taker, and Rahu can get into big trouble as well. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do the 12 signs now. If you are an Aries ascendant or Aries moon, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu is going to be entering your 12th house of Pisces. And the 12th house is a mystical experience, mystical house, it represents spirit guides, it represents spirituality, ashrams. And so this is going to be a very psychic time of your life, a very spiritual time. You may have just very far out type of experiences, unusual experiences. You're going to find that your ancestors are talking to you in very subtle ways. And when they're talking to you, it might be very subtle. You might just have these urges to try new things that you've never thought of before. And this could be, different spirits communicating with you. So if you're interested in spirituality, this is a great time to really tap into that. Also, if you're somebody that has the travel bug, you may be traveling to foreign countries during this transit, since 12th house can represent foreign places. Like I said, it's an extremely psychic time. So you're going to be very open to a lot of the spiritual influences around you. If you have the opportunity to go on spiritual retreat, I would recommend it, because this is just such a great time where you can make a lot of progress in your spiritual path. So I would highly recommend it. Now, Ketu is going to be in your sixth house. So when Ketu's in the sixth house, remember, sixth house can represent things like imbalance. It can represent enemies. So this is a time where you want to make sure you don't drop your guard, because remember, Ketu represents a sense of apathy. And, just because Ketu is going through the sixth house doesn't necessarily mean your enemies, they're still active. So you got to be on watch for them. And when we talk about enemies, I'm kind of using the Vedic, what they say in Vedic astrology, but these can just be competitors, people that are competing against your interest. Now let's move to the next sign. If you are Taurus ascendant or Taurus moon, this reading is going to be for you. Now, Rahu is going to be going through your 11th house of Pisces, Taurus. This is actually really good for money. So if you're interested in like increasing your salary, increasing, any type of investments you have, by the way, it doesn't guarantee all your investments are going to prosper, but in general, your general sense of money flowing in, because 11th house represents how you get money. The second house would represent how you save that money. So 11th house, you're generally going to see your income increase. Now, we are going to be entering some crazy events, I feel, in the near future. So even if you see temporarily it's not good, I feel by the end of the 18-month transit, you're going to be in a better place, Taurus. So don't worry if you see things are kind of weird at first. You're generally going to see a general increase of financial prosperity. Of course, it does depend what Vimshatari Dasha you're in as well. But generally, it's an increase of financial prosperity. Also, you may meet a lot of new friends. Your networks are going to expand, so that's really good. You may also be recognized and get some awards, at your work or, in education. The 11th house represents like getting awards and prizes and achievements. So being recognized for those things. Now, Ketu is going to be in your 5th house of creativity. This can have a negative effect on romantic life. So if you're single and you're looking to date, there might be less than desirable effects. K2 can create like meeting people that are very apathetic, very flaky. Maybe they ghost you, kind of thing. So it's a little bit difficult. Now, if you're in a relationship, it's not necessarily bad, because the 5th house doesn't mean committed relationships. It just means courtship and dating. Also, you may have a lack of attention in personal creative endeavors, because you're kind of like out networking with friends and looking at ways to earn money. But your creativity in a personal level is reduced. Also, K2 in the 5th house can represent there could be some sort of lack of attention to children if you have children. So just be aware of that. Make sure to spend time with them and really make sure, let them know that you care for them. Good luck, Taurus. If you are a Gemini ascendant or Gemini moon, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu's going to be going through your 10th house of Pisces. So this is really good for your career. And also 10th house can represent public visibility, respect. So there's an increase of respect. There's an increase of prestige during this time. So if you're already working in a company like a large institution, or you're working in a corporation, this is a really good time. There's usually promotion or advancement. And there's just this general increase of respect during this time. Rahu, what it's going to be doing is it's going to, create unusual situations where you get advancements. Remember, Rahu represents like um, unusual happenings. It can represent, for example, like someone quitting and all of a sudden this position opens up and you are the next person to get it, or they need to emergency fill a spot and you get chosen to fill it. So Rahu provides these unique opportunities that are not like not normal circumstances. Saturn would be the traditional normal step by step circumstances that are in traditional hierarchies. Rahu's trying to find a way to leapfrog or quantum leap the hierarchy. So that's why this is so good. It's giving you like a leapfrog instead of having to go through the standard, the standard procedures of advancement within corporations and institutions. So this is the good thing about it. Now, Ketu is going to be in your fourth house of Virgo. Now you may move because of this time because of your career. There's less focus on your home and home matters. So if you have a family, this could be difficult. Like your family might they might be missing you a lot. You may be so focused on your career and your prestige that all your energy is going to that. So that's something to be aware of, because we still have free will, regardless of these transits. And Rahu can just represent obsessions. Most of all, it can be an obsession about your career, an obsession about your advancement. So good luck, Gemini. If you are Cancer ascendant or Cancer moon, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu's going to be in your ninth house of Pisces. The ninth house, it represents college education, universities, gurus, dharma teachings. It represents religion, father figures. So Rahu's getting you to break barriers in that. So for example, you may go to university level schooling during this time, since ninth house represents higher levels of learning. You may decide to get an advanced degree. You may just take a class because you're interested in philosophy. So ninth house has to do with matters of like deep philosophy. What is the meaning of life? It has to do with religion, it has to do with studying with a guru or a spiritual teacher. This is a very important time. And in the material world, people don't tend to put a lot of worth on the ninth house. In the material world, people are more concerned about, money, house, spouse. But the ninth house on a spiritual level is pretty much the most important house in your chart. It's the big, it's the Dharma house. It represents your purpose. Spiritually speaking, the ninth house is what moves you. That is what moves you forward on a spiritual level. It's what advances you reincarnationally. It's the ninth house. It's not the career. It's the ninth house that actually does it. So people that spend time in meditation, chanting mantras, saying devotional prayers, aspirational prayers, contact with deities, those people are actually advancing their spiritual life for future rebirths. Okay. Your better rebirths are not necessarily coming in through having a bigger house or a better spouse, or, this comes through the ninth house, which, like I said, the normies don't put a lot of importance to. Also during this time, because the ninth house is 12th house from the 10th house, sometimes it can represent leaving your job, like quitting on your own, out of your own volition, and just because you want to pursue wisdom, spirituality, or you just want to go back to school. So it could be related to that. Also international travel. K2 is going to be in your third house of Virgo. So you're going to be apathetic towards things like office work. Siblings, you may lose touch with your siblings if you have them during the time. And you're not going to be interested in small talk, because third house represents small talk. Good luck, Cancer. If you are Leo or Leo ascendant, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu's going to be going through your eighth house of Pisces. And this is like a really mysterious transit for you, Leo. This is going to be really intense. The eighth house has to do with the house of death and rebirth, tantra, mystery. So this is like a really interesting time for you. It's going to be breaking through barriers of rebirth. It's going to be breaking through barriers of other people's money, because the eighth house represents other people's money, and secrets. You may actually come across some secrets or some sort of secretive arrangements that you may have during this time. So this is a really interesting time. You may receive cash settlements, insurance payouts, or other monies. These are monies that are not earned in a traditional way. It's like that's why they call it the house of other people's money. It doesn't come through normal work. It's like you receive money through some sort of insurance, inheritance, something it wasn't technically earned. Like I said, you may learn many secrets. If you're a very spiritual person, this is the house of like Kundalini awakenings. So this could be really intense. But I also have to give you warning, Leo. Eighth house has to do with emergencies as well. So there may be some sort of sudden emergencies that take place. So you got to be very careful there. But Rahu in the eighth house is looking for an opportunity in the emergency. So believe it or not, these emergencies that present themselves during the next 18 months may give you some sort of opening or window of opportunity that you may not have had prior to the emergency. So that's something to really focus on. So, and that will be there'll just be a compulsion to take action on something. Okay. So for example, being a disaster responder would be something that Rahu in the eighth house would be very good at. Now, Ketu is going to be in your second house of Virgo. This could represent problems within your family of origin, Leo. So, for example, the family of origin is the people you grew up with, mother, father, siblings, people that are in your close circle. So there may be just kind of like a generalized problems there. It can be financial problems. It can be just difficulties being in contact with your family. You just want to make sure you're talking with them. Also, your personal income may be negatively affected during this time. So even though you might be getting other people's money and assistance through all these other ways of making money, your personal way of traditionally making money through a job might actually decrease or be negatively affected during this time. But it's kind of a trade-off. So good luck, Leo. If you are Virgo ascendant or Virgo moon, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu's going to be in the seventh house. And Virgo, what I want you to know is that when Rahu goes through your first house and then Ketu's going through Rahu's in your seventh house and then Ketu's in your first house. This is a time when the karmic axis is in the 1-7 axis where somebody very important can enter your life. So if you're single and you're wondering if someone new, this is a great time where somebody from your past lives may be showing up. Someone of very important. Especially if you're in a proper Vimshatari Dasha period, someone may present themselves through unusual circumstances, and it's going to be somebody that seems very familiar to you because you've known them in past lives. So that's the kind of barriers that are going to be expanded here. Now, this could be someone you meet that could become a significant partner. Okay. Romantic, marriage, something along the line where there's a serious commitment line made. Also, because the seventh house is 10th from the 10th, it can also represent a rise in status within your career. So this could actually benefit your career. And also you may get new business opportunities. So for example, you may have an employer contact you, or a recruiter or somebody offering you some sort of deal or some sort of contract that might be, out of the norm. It might be something because Rahu's creating something like an opportunity, like an amazing opportunity that doesn't come around. So it might be good, really look into that, see if it's worth it. Ketu in the first house of Virgo, it can make this a very psychic period. The downside about Ketu, remember Ketu has this energy of really breaking down boundaries. So for example, Ketu can make you very open to your environment, almost too open, where you're kind of a sponge to all the energies around you. So you got to make sure you're establishing clear boundaries with people and not being manipulated by the people around you, since you're kind of wide open during this time. So be careful, Virgo, but good luck, because I feel like this is going to be a really good time for you. If you are Libra ascendant or Libra moon, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu is going to be in your sixth house of Pisces. Now, sixth house is a challenging house. So, and you also got to check out what Vimshatari Dasha period you're in as well. But the sixth house can represent things like instituting a new health routine. And I did want to give you the heads up. This is a time where there could be potential disputes or disharmony if this period is not properly managed. But it's interesting if you're somebody that works in an industry that manages disputes, like for example, if you work as an attorney or you work as a counselor or somebody in the sixth house service fields, this actually could be really good for you because you're into problem resolution. So it's like Rahu's giving you this unique opportunity. But if you're just like a everyday person, you don't really want drama, well, you may have some more drama during this period. Okay. So if you're at a normal job, you may have more drama at work. There might be a lot more gossip. And K2 going through your 12th house. Well, 12th house represents secret enemies. So you kind of have like you got to be a little bit careful. You just got to be aware of things. Be aware of people that are more friendly towards you or people that are more competitive towards you. It's a time to really train your awareness with these things. Remember, awareness is really where your strength is going to be. It's just being aware of these things. K2 in the 12th house it's going to make it so you may neglect your spiritual side of life because K2 represents apathy. So you're so focused on worldly concerns, like, working and you might even earn money through this time, but it's going to be through overtime. It's just going to be through hard work. You're so concerned about worldly concerns that you might actually neglect some of the spiritual things. So that's what I'm saying with K2 in the 12th house. Good luck, Libra. This isn't a horrible time. Remember, you got to also look at what planetary dasha you're in, because if you're in a really good dasha period, the effects of Rahu being in the sixth house could be very limited. So you got to really check into that. Take care of yourself, Libra. If you are Scorpio ascendant or Scorpio moon, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu is going to be in your fifth house of Pisces. And so Rahu is going to be breaking through barriers of creativity, luck, and even romance. So for example, if you're single and you're dating, this is going to be a great time for you. There's going to be all types of unique opportunities to date, especially people that are, Rahu can represent like exotic things, unusual things, really pushing your boundaries, maybe dating people that you usually don't date. That's what Rahu does. It's getting you to expand your boundaries and your horizons. This is a good time. For example, luck. You may actually have some sort of unexpected luck come your way as a credit from past life karma. Now, I'm not advocating going to casinos because you got to look at your overall chart for that. But you may have some sort of luck. Like you're walking down the road and you see $100 bill there. So those are the kind of luck. And in Vedic astrology, luck is considered there is a karmic cause for it. Okay. So there actually is something good you did in a past life that gives you this good luck or this occurrence that really advances you in life. That's from past karma. You may have a lot of sudden inspiration for creative projects. So if you're an artist, this is going to be the most awesome transit for you. Artists or creative people, it's like you're going to feel like you're tapped into divine intelligence. If you're somebody that writes books, fifth house represents authors. Okay. So this is a really great time for that. It's a great time to be in the spotlight. Now, K2 is going to be in the 11th house of Virgo. You may neglect your friendships and networks. And the reason is fifth house is more focused on yourself and your own creative endeavors. You're not really focused as much as working in teams or groups as what the 11th house represents. The 11th house is working in like a network or a big group of people. The fifth house is like, look at me. So you may neglect your friendship networks because either, maybe there's a new romance in your life, or maybe you're just really like obsessed about a creative project you're working on. And so you're neglecting some of the networks. That's the downside of it. But it's not too bad, Scorpio. So take care of yourself and good luck during this period. If you are Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu is going to be in the fourth house of Pisces. This is going to be breaking through barriers with home, vehicles, moving house. You may move during this time. So if other factors in your chart show that you could be moving, Rahu in the fourth is going to create a unique opportunity to move. And for example, it could be the lucky breakthrough. If you're trying to get a house, Rahu can create a lucky breakthrough where you're able to get that house. Also, vehicles. Sometimes I forget to mention that the fourth house represent cars. You may get a new car during this time. That's kind of neat. And also, One thing you got to be aware of, the fourth house does represent your mother figures in your life. So Rahu is a malefic planet. So whenever we see a malefic Rahu going through a house that represents people, you want to be, it could represent trouble in some sort of way for mother figures in your life. The trouble can be spiritual, emotional, mental, physical. You really got to check in with the situation, but just keep good contact with your mother or your mother figures in your life. Make sure they're okay. If you do acquire a car, this is the time where you get a sports car, like a really fast car, or something exotic, or something with bright colors. You also may renovate your home during this time, so there might be this whole new look that you want to renovate your home or your apartment. That's also indicated with Rahu in the fourth. Now, Ketu is in the 10th house of Virgo. So Ketu, remember, it represents apathy, a disinterest. So you may actually be neglecting your career or your public duties because there's more of a focus on domestic concerns, your home life, and you may just like not care about your career. So that's one thing to be aware of, Sagittarius. So good luck during this period. Take care of yourself. If you are Capricorn ascendant or Capricorn moon, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu's going to be going through your third house of Pisces. And this is going to break through barriers of self-earned wealth. So third house represents business or busyness. Okay. Teamwork, hobbies. There's all types of opportunities that are going to be presented here. So it could just be a new idea to make money. So for example, the cool thing to talk about is side hustles. You may come up with all these side hustles to make all this extra money during this time. The third house is about making money through your own efforts without like an employer, without a job. You're actually doing it. It is the house of entrepreneurship. It's literally you just through your own creativity, your own talents, you're able to etch out a living or you're able to make money. So it's a really good time to set up a social media channel. If you want to set up an Instagram, a Facebook, a YouTube, whatever you want to set up, the third house and the 11th house both represent things like social media. This is a really good time to do it. Now, it can negatively affect siblings. So third house represents siblings. And when I say negatively affect them, remember Rahu is a malefic planet. So when it's going through a house that represents people in our lives, it can sometimes bring some sort of drama in that area. So that's just something to be aware of. It depends on what their chart shows as well, but this is a very generalized reading. You may be called to give presentations. So if you have a job at a corporation, you may be somebody where you're teaching classes or giving corporations, because third house represents things like workshops. The Ketu's in the 9th house of Virgo. You may be neglecting higher studies. So for example, you may be concerned with more mundane concerns like your business or your side hustles, or third house can represent just like small talk with neighbors and coworkers, where maybe you're neglecting higher studies and philosophy and the deeper questions of life right now. That's what the 9th house represents. So that's just something to be aware of. Of course, this too shall pass. So at some point in your life, you will be interested in 9th house matters. So take care of yourself, Capricorn. Good luck during this period. There's a lot of opportunities for you. If you are Aquarius ascendant or Aquarius moon, this reading is going to be for you. Rahu is going to be going through your second house. There's some good things and there's some bad things along with this. It's really good for money. So if you're just thinking about, I want to make money, I want to build my assets, this is a really good time for that, because Rahu is going to give you new opportunities to build up your financial portfolio or your assets. Remember, the 11th house represents how we earn our money. The second house is how we save it and how we store it. So for example, if you have a really good 11th house, you could have a really high salary, but if you have a bad second house, you don't know how to save it. It slips right through your finger. So Rahu in the second house is like you're getting that money and you're able to save it and grow that money, through like interest bearing accounts and all sorts of things where you're growing it in very positive ways. So you're breaking through barriers in wealth, in knowledge as well. People don't know this, but second house can represent knowledge. So for example, the second house represents storage. That's why it represents wealth, storage of wealth. It also represents just storage of wisdom. So reading books, taking classes, listening to lectures, getting new knowledge about things is second house too, and acquiring new values. And that's just as valuable as even financial wealth, because that wisdom that you take with you, you can take with you to as a reincarnational, mental continuum. You take that wisdom with you. So this is a really good time. You're going to have new financial opportunities, new learning opportunities. Rahu in the second can even be learning a new language. So if you want to take a class on learning a new language, this is a good time to do it. The downside about this transit, it can bring some troubles within your family, because Rahu is a malefic planet. So Rahu can represent difficulty or drama within your family of origin. Your family of origin is like the people you grew up with, mother, father, stepmother, whoever that was, brothers, sisters. There can be some sort of difficulty, or maybe you lose contact with them during this period because there's some sort of difficulty. Now, Ketu is in the 8th house. Your partner, if you have like a committed partner, they might have difficulty with their money situation, since 8th house represents joint assets. And there also may be disappointment in matters of like, so if you file an insurance claim or taxes, or you're expecting an inheritance of some sort, there can be disappointment during this time, because K2 kind of represents a disappointment in the matters of that house. Good luck, Aquarius, and take care. There's of course going to be opportunities and good things happening during this transit too, so take care. If you are Pisces ascendant or Pisces moon, and I guess I didn't save it, but if you're Pisces ascendant or Pisces moon, let me bring that back to you. Rahu's going to be going through your first house of Pisces, and then Ketu is going to be going through your 7th house of Virgo. So this is a time where you could meet a potential romantic partner. So if you're single, it's a really good time. You might meet somebody because it's in that karmic axis of Rahu and Pisces and Ketu in Virgo. The 1st and 7th house is always a time where you could meet a new person that's going to be important in your life. So that's something to be aware of, Pisces. Also, with Rahu going through your 1st house, it can represent things like career promotion, since the focus is on yourself, and you're going to be looking, what Rahu does is it magnifies your aura. So like your bosses notice you, people notice you, and it's a good time for promotions. So when we talk about promotions, we usually talk about the 1st house, the 7th house, or the 10th house. So Rahu going through your 1st house is really good for your career. Also, you may make some radical change to your identity or your appearance. So people can change their appearance or change even different aspects of themselves. So for example, Rahu in the 1st house is all about your identity. There could be a change of like your belief system, your religion. It could be a change of, what you do as a profession. Who do you identify as? That's what 1st house is all about. So that's something to think about. Ketu's in the 7th house because Rahu is in the 1st house. There's more of a focus on self, whereas Ketu in the 7th house is going to represent a lack of attention to your partner. So that's going to be the difficult thing, Pisces, is if you are in a romantic or a committed relationship, you might not be paying enough attention to your spouse or your long-term romantic partner. So that's something to consider. So thank you, Pisces. Good luck on that. So thank you everyone for checking out these 12 signs. I didn't have the last slide for Pisces. I guess I forgot to save it, but that's all right because I was able just to explain it anyways. This is going to be such an important time for everyone. And I think it's really important, along with looking at our personal lives. I feel like this is going to be a giant collective karma. And you all are aware the conflict is happening in the Middle East right now. And so with this big karmic change that's happening with Rahu and Ketu changing signs, and then Saturn going direct on November 4th, this is a really pivotal time of some really important karmas. I'm going to be talking about this more in my November video, but these are one of these volatile times where we can see a lot of changes in our lives. So that's something to consider, because whenever you see Rahu and Ketu change signs, that's always so important. When I talk about the transiting planets you really want to look at no matter what, is you always want to look at where Saturn is in your chart, where it's transiting, and where Rahu and Ketu are transiting. Those are the most important. and then whatever dasha lord is transiting as well. So Rahu and Ketu is a tremendously important transit to look at in terms of what type of unfolding karma is coming to you in the future. Thank you for watching. Let me know down below in the comments what you think or what your opinion is, and take care. And I should be releasing a video in the next day or two, few days here, of the November predictions. And also, if you have any ideas for videos of charts you want me to do, let me know. I have been neglecting doing chart readings, so I need to do more of those, and I'm going to be doing more in November. So thank you all for watching, and take care.